Namaste, aloha, welcome to the Bhagavad Gita as it is class. My name is Janapati Das. Please accept my respects, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in consistently. And let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master, Jagat Guru, Siddha Swarupananda Paramahamsa Srila Prabhupada, and to the lotus feet of Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who has so wonderfully translated and purported upon this Bhagavad Gita as it is that we've been reading through. Let us start our class with some hearing and chanting of Krishna's names, and which is the prime benediction for humanity at large, which we, in this age of Kali, as we turn on the TV sets and the social media and open the reels, see the craziness of this material world. What we need the most in this world is love, sweet love of Sri Krishna. Namo Siddhas Swarupananda Paramahamsa Namine Gaurakaruna Swarupaya Radha Krishna Namo Siddhas Swarupananda Paramahamsa Namine Gaurakaruna Swarupaya Radha Krishna Jayate Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasudeva Haribol. Namo Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa Namine Gaurakaruna Swarupaya Radhakrishna Prasthayate. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So thank you for tuning in, and I welcome your comments, and please take your opportunity if you have friends who would like to view this channel to ask them to subscribe to the channel and make comments and questions or whatever they would like to do. Appreciate that. We are on the last chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, entitled Conclusion, the Perfection of Renunciation. And Krishna has been kind of getting into the details of so many different things in this Bhagavad Gita, and now he's defining the meaning, the real meaning of renunciation, although we've clarified that throughout the Bhagavad Gita, but getting into a little bit more detail. Before, we had been talking about the different modes of material nature and how things are done, and the activities, the actions that are done in these particular modes. And we had been talking about austerities and sacrifices and charities and the types of renunciation that are done in goodness, passion, and ignorance. We are ended up now at text 23. Niyatam sangha rahitam araga deveshtata kritam afala plepshuna karma yatat satvikam uchyate. Niyatam, regulative, sangha rahitam, without attachment, araga deveshata, without love or hatred, kritam, done, afala plepshuna, without fruit of result. So phalam is a fruit, and afala is without the fruits. And plepshuna is the result. The result. Karma, acts, yat, that which, tat, that, satvikam, in the mode of goodness, uchayate, is called. Translation, text 23. As for actions, that action in accordance with duty, which is performed without attachment, without love or hate, by one who has renounced fruit of results, is called action in the mode of goodness. And so we're defining these different kinds of actions in the different modes. But Krishna is also making it clear to Arjuna that the action for him to do, for his duty, is to do his duty as a warrior and to fight in the battle. And there is no attachment, whether they're going to win or whether they're going to lose or whether they're going to kill people. So there's no love or hate. In other words, there's no duplistic, like, oh yeah, we're going to do this, and I'm going to get this out of that, or, oh, I hate doing this and I don't want to do this because I'm afraid this is going to happen. No, it's neither nor. It's just focused on their duty, serving Krishna, renouncing the fruit of results, right, is called the action in the mode of goodness. Purport: regulated occupational duties as prescribed in the scriptures in terms of the different orders and divisions of society performed without attachment or proprietary rights, and therefore without any love or hatred, and performed in Krishna consciousness for the satisfaction of the Supreme, without self-satisfaction or self-gratification, are called actions in the mode of goodness. So there was, of course, the full varnashram system that was set up, and these things were related to that. But unfortunately, the varnashram system is not really followed so much anymore. But we can still do our duty, and whatever activity that we might be, whether it's a teacher or a warrior, or as a parent, as a businessman, we do our duty without attachment in the service of Krishna. Yat tu kame shuna karmas sahan karena va puna kriyate bahulayasam tad rajasam udaritam. Yat, that which, to, but, kama ipsuna, with fruit of result. Kama, of course, is lust or desire. Karma, work, shahankarena, with ego. Va, or punaha, again, kriyate, performed. Bahula ayasham, with great labor. Tat, that, rajasam, in the mode of passion. Udaritam is said to be. Translation, text 24. But action performed with great effort by seeking to gratify his desires, and which is enacted with a sense of false ego, is called action in the mode of passion. So here Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada refers to sahankarena. Ahankara is the false ego, which is a subtle energy. And so when Bhaktivedanta is translating this with ego, of course we are talking about the false ego, which he puts in his translation, enacted from a sense of false ego. This is me, I am the body, I am my desires, I am whatever, I am white, black, straight, gay, left, liberal, conservative, whatever it might be. And my action performed with great effort by seeking to gratify his desires, right? So the activities that are done under this false ego, and of course, I like to bring this back to, since this is the so-called Gay Pride Month, right? We've talked about this word darpana, or darpa, which means pride or arrogance. And it has to do with being very proud under this kind of sense of false ego, right? False ego, hankara. Thinking that they are their desires, their bodies, and that they're very proud of those kinds of things because they see that as their own desire. And this is actually likened to bring about great suffering, pain, and problems in society in general, in the Vedic system. So, text 25. Anubandam kashayam himsham anpe ksha chaparusham mohad arabhyate karma yatat tamasham uchyate. Anubandam, future bondage. So bandam, of course, is the word that means bondage. Anubandam, future bondage. That's a very interesting one. I'm sure that will be having to do with karmic reaction in the future. Kashayam, distracted. Himsham, violence. So we know this word ahimsa, which is non-violence, because there's the A in front, but we have himsham, violence. Anapeksha, without consideration of consequences. Cha, also. Parusham, distressing to others. Mohat, by illusion. Arabayate, begun. Karma, work. Yat, that. Tat, which. Tamasham, in the mode of ignorance. Uchayate is said to be. In action performed in ignorance and delusion without consideration of future bondage or consequences, which inflicts injury and is impractical, is said to be in the mode of action in the mode of ignorance. So, excuse me, I got the frog in my throat. So yeah, there's a lot of that going on right now. No actions in the mode of ignorance do not take into consideration the consequences of what they're doing. And this is, we liken back to the idea of contemplating the objects of the senses. One develops attachment to, and from attachment comes lust, kama, which comes lust. It's like lust. You say, I've got to have that. I must have it. It belongs to me. I must have it. And then from that comes krodha, which is anger, and then bewilderment of memory and loss of intelligence and all those things, and then one falls back down One is not only creating great suffering for those people, all that suffering is being carried by that living entity for the activities that they have done, and they will have to suffer even more in future lives because of that activity. And this is all done in the illusion of thinking, no, I got it under control. This is about me. It's about my enjoyment. I'm the man. It's just like text 26. Mukta Sango Naham Vadi Driti Utshaya Samanvita Siddhi Asiddhyor Nirvikara Karta Satvika Uchayate. Mukta Sangha, liberated from all material association. Anaham Vadi, without false ego. Virti Utsaya, with great enthusiasm. Samadvitaha, qualified in that way. Siddhi, perfection. Asiddhyo, failure. Nirvikaraha, without change. Karta, worker. Sadvikaha, in the mode of goodness. Uchayate, is said to be. Text 26. The worker who is free from all material attachments and false ego, who is enthusiastic and resolute, and who is indifferent to success or failure, is a worker in the mode of goodness. So Krishna is stating these divisions, these gradations, and I'm just like, ooh, this bit of sun in my eye. Maybe I'll move my chair a little bit forward. The sun's coming through. Okay, I think that's a little bit better. So there's the standard which Krishna wants Arjuna to act in, and the living entity should be acting is the mode of goodness. And these are statements here: free from the material attachments and false ego, the ahankara, right? Enthusiastic, resolute, and indifferent to success or failure. No dualist, not dualistic. In worker is in the worker of the mode of goodness. So purport: a person in Krishna consciousness is always transcendental to the material modes of nature. He has no expectation for the result of the work entrusted to him because he is above false ego and pride. Still, he is always enthusiastic till the completion of such work. He does not worry about the distress undertaken. He is always enthusiastic. So enthusiasm, my spiritual master has made that point that one should act with enthusiasm in spiritual life. He does not care for success or failure. He is equal both in distress or happiness. Such a worker is situated in the mode of goodness. Text 27. Raji karma phala plepshur lubdo himsatmako suchi harsha shokanvita karta rajasa parikirtita. Laji, very much attached. Karma phala, to the fruit of the work. Plepshu, that's an interesting, karma phala, right? Phala is a fruit, or the results of karma, or the actions or the activities of what one person does in the material world. Plepshu, desiring. Lubdaha, greedy. Himsa atma kaha, always envious. That's a very interesting word, because himsa is the same. I wonder if that's the same. Looking at the Sanskrit right now. Who knows? I have to study that to see if that's the same. Because it's himsa atma kaha. Atma would normally be the spirit soul, can be the soul, the body, the self. Himsa is violence. Anyway. Ashuchi, unclean. Harsha shoka anvitaha, complicated with joy and sorrow. Karta, such a worker. Rajashaha, in the mode of passion. parikirtitaha is declared. But that worker who is attached to the fruits of his labor and who passionately wants to enjoy them, who is greedy, envious, and impure, and moved by happiness and distress, is worker in the mode of passion. A person who is too much attached to a certain kind of work or to the result because he has too much attachment for materialism or hearth and home, wife and children, such a person has no desire for higher elevation of life. So the person could be living as a materialist and, living a relatively pious kind of life, not being a very ignorant person who's, causing great suffering around them, but because they are so attached to their family, their family life, right? They're not really, they're like, okay, well, maybe I'll do the spiritual yoga thing later on, but right now I'm enjoying, I have a beautiful wife, I've got these great children, we go to Disneyland, and, it's like, there's lots of people like that. They're just like, spiritual life, that's something that I'm going to do later on, and then somebody gets hit by a car, and then they're like, whoa, okay, the world's turned all around. I mean, people's lives are turned all, like, people are so sure that their plans, their expectations are going to be fulfilled, and when something drastic comes and drops in the middle of it, they don't know how to deal with it. I mean, I think there's examples all the time, but then there's a pretty high profile kind of case going on right now where there was this black kid who was in the wrong place. I guess he was carrying a knife with him, and last year, and he went on the opposing team side or something, and there was a couple white kids, and there was some kind of dispute. They told him to leave. He was not supposed to be in that side or whatever, and so anyway, there was a scuffle, and then the black kid stabbed the white kid, and anyways, there was a big trial, and so they actually charged the boy with murder, and he's sentenced to 35 years in prison. I'm not here to make a political point on either side of the, but it causes so much upheaval, and people are just like, oh, like you could see the distress because they were expecting, well, I'm going to have this son, and he's going to be my son, and he's going to go graduate high school and go on to college with honors and play in the football team and then he'll meet a nice girl, get married, and we'll have grandchildren, and, this kind of thing. And then the other side of it, oh, my son now has to go to jail, and we're missing out, like the expectations of what's going to happen, right? It's just like a bomb in the middle of the whole thing. But these are people who are just very, they're very moved by the happiness and distress and in what they do in this life. They're not contemplating, the meaning of life, really. Or maybe they're contemplating a little bit more like, what does God have planned for, you would hope. A person who is much attached to a certain kind of work or the result because he has too much attachment for materialism or hearth and home, wife and children, such a person has no desire for higher elevation of life. He is simply concerned with making this world as materially comfortable as possible. Good luck with that. He is generally very greedy, and he thinks that anything attained by him is permanent and never to be lost. That's what I'm saying. It's like, like, oh, that's mine, and then somebody comes along or you lose a bunch of money and somebody robs you. It's like, if you knew, you would contemplate on the Sri Ishopanishad beginning, which says that mantra 1, everything animate and inanimate is owned and controlled by God. And one should know that they have a certain allotment, and they should not be overly striving for beyond that. But this is to be in the mode of goodness. In the mode of passion, you're just like, oh, that's mine. If I get lost, I'm really lamenting that, and tragically or angry about it or whatever. Such a person is envious of others and is prepared to do anything wrong for sense gratification. Therefore, we can cite more examples of that. Therefore, such a person is unclean and he does not care whether his earning is pure or impure. Yeah. He is very happy if his work is successful and very much distressed when his work is not successful. Such is a man in the mode of passion. Text 28. Ayuktaha prakritya stabdaha stato naishkritiko lashaha vishadi dirga sutriksha karta tamasha ichayate. Ayuktaha, without reference to the scriptural injunctions. Prakritya, materialistic. Stabdaha, obstinate. Stahaha, deceitful. Nashkritya, expert in insulting others. Expert in insulting others. That's an interesting one. I want to look that word up. Nashkritya trikaha. Alashaha, lazy, vishadi, morose, dirga, sutri, procrastinating, cha, also, karta, worker, tamashaha, in the mode of ignorance, uchayate is said to be. And that worker who is always engaged in work against the injunction of the scriptures, who is materialistic, obstinate, cheating, and expert in insulting others, who is lazy, always morose, and procrastinating, is a worker in the mode of ignorance. Wow, okay. Purport. In the scriptural injunctions, we find what sort of work should be performed and what sort of work should not be performed. Those who do not care for those injunctions engage in work not to be done, and such persons are generally materialistic. They work according to the modes of nature, not according to the injunctions of the scripture. Such workers are not very gentle, and generally they are always cunning and expert in insulting others. Wow. They are very lazy, even though they have some duty. They do not do it properly, and they put it aside to be done later on. They appear to be morose. They procrastinate. Anything which can be done in an hour, they drag on for years. Yikes. Such workers are situated in the mode of ignorance. Now, so that's really interesting because we live in a very, what's the word? We're actively involved in social media, and we live in a society that is constantly trying to one-up each other in insults, as if that's going to really, I see it on social media, and they do it on the left and they do it on the right. They do it all over the place. It's like part of our culture of just blatantly insulting people who have different opinions from us, and it can be all kinds of personal natures. And so people get very expert in coming up with witty commentary, insulting other people, and then they feel pretty proud about that. Like, they make the post and they're like, oh, they get a few likes on their post. People are like, oh yeah, right on, yeah, and patting you on the back for insulting this person you've never really met. You don't know anything about them. You don't know how they grew up, what their parents were like, what kind of experiences they've had in this life, but they just may have a different political opinion than you, or they may see things that are different from you, or they may be imperfect, like you. They are imperfect. They've made mistakes and they've probably done stupid things. But this is an interesting thing. I think probably this could be the mode of ignorance that we find ourselves cultivating, wasting time of trying to insult people as if that were really going to make a difference, other than to make people really, really mad and want to do the same thing at us. it's a very strong psychological thing for people who've been insulted. They feel like they've been attacked and their pride has been hurt, so they react like an animal might react. They've been attacked, they attack back. But this is the mode of ignorance. So being in the mode of goodness, one would actually not be affected by the insults of other people against them, because they feel, as the devotee of Krishna, whatever attack whatever insult you're saying is not half as bad as really how I am. The things I've done in my life and in past lives. And the best way to approach that is to always be the person that you're thinking about, how can I improve myself, and not how can I improve other people. Text 29. Buddhir bedam drityas chaiva gunatas trivijam shrunu prachayamam manam asheshena prita tvena dhananjaya. Buddhi, of intelligence. Bedam, differences. Dhretihe, of steadiness. Cha, also. Eva, certainly. Gunataha, by the modes of material nature. Trividam, the three kinds of. Shru, just here. Prochamanam, as described by me. Acheshena, in detail. Pritakvena, differently. Dhananjaya, O winner of wealth. Now, O winner of wealth, please listen as I tell you in detail of the three kinds of understanding and determination according to the three modes of nature. Interesting. Purport. Now, after explaining knowledge, the object of knowledge, the knower, and the knower in three different divisions according to the modes of material nature, the Lord is explaining the intelligence and determination of the worker in the same way. This is a very deep chapter. I mean, you could, like I said, you could create a graph and explain all the different kinds of things. Something that's worth contemplating, in the practicality of society. So text 30. Pravrityam cha navrityam cha karya karye baya banda moksha cha veti buddhi sa partha satviki. Pravrityam, deserving. Cha, also. Navrityam, not deserving. Karya, work. Akare, reaction. Baya, fearful. Abaye, fearlessness. Bandam, obligation. Moksham, cha, and liberation. Ya, that which. Veti, knows. Buddhi, understanding. Sa, that. Partha, O son of Prita. Satviki, in the mode of goodness. Translation, text 30. O son of Prita, that understanding by which one knows what ought to be done and what ought not to be done, what is to be feared and what is not to be feared, what is binding and what is liberating, that understanding is established in the mode of goodness. Actions which are performed in terms of the directions of the scriptures are called for pravriti, or actions that deserve to be performed, and actions which are not so directed and are not to be performed. One who does not know the scriptural directions becomes entangled in the actions and reactions of work. Understanding which discriminates by intelligence is situated in the mode of goodness. So it's very clear what Krishna is saying to Arjuna here is that there are activities that are supposed to be done in the mode of goodness or the transcendental goodness. And those are following the instructions of Scripture. So in society, you need to know what to do and what not to do. You need the taboos. You need the social settings and rules and regulations and things that explain how a person can get out of the material world and go back to God. Because otherwise, if you follow the philosophy, which is in the mode of ignorance, which is not following Scripture, it's kind of like whatever goes, whatever feels good. And that's completely in the mode of illusion, because you're following an illusion. You're following your mind. You're following with the premise that this is my body, and if I just follow the dictates of whatever my mind wants me to do and my body wants to do, I can be any way. I can sleep with whoever I want to sleep with. I can do these things. I can put drugs in my body. I can do all these things. I can have unlimited sex with people and then have abortions because it's my body after all, and whatever else is going on. So many things that people try to do. They get weirder and weirder and weirder and more strange and painful and dangerous in society, that it starts to attack the fundamentals of the society too. And this is not making anybody any happier, but we're kind of like going in the direction of going over the waterfall, and we just think, oh well, look at this, we're going faster, this is fun. But we're not, we're actually getting into a very dangerous situation. And we, the sages and the spiritual masters are the ones on the end saying, get off the boat, go back the other way. This is going over a waterfall. Oh no, who's that crazy person on the line telling us to go the wrong way? So, pravriti are the activities, they said here, that deserve to be performed, the things that should be performed. And then there are navrityam, which are not deserving. That's very interesting. Actions, okay, did I read that? I can't remember if I read the purport. Actions which are performed in terms of the directions of the scriptures are called pravriti. Yeah, I did that, okay. Understanding which discriminates by intelligence is situated in the mode of goodness. I'm just going to read the purport again. Actions which are performed in terms of the directions of the scriptures are called pravriti, or actions that deserve to be performed. And actions which are not so directed, which are navrityam, are not to be performed. So the scriptures, and in this world, what's happening is that, because you also have a thing where people are like, well, Jesus never said that did this or that or this or that, and that becomes kind of like they're hijacking scriptural injunctions and injecting their own navritam into, or the things that should not be done, using the scriptures, which is really evil, I think, actually, because those are set up to actually protect people, protect society, protect the living entity from being conditioned and having to suffer over and over and over again. But what the demons are doing is actually turning it around and saying, oh, this is oppressive. We got to allow, you're not making people happy. You're telling them not to do these things or follow their sexual desires or whatever they feel like they want to be. You're saying, no, that's not who you are. So you're actually causing them great suffering, and you're the real demons. So I wouldn't say that there's a great cosmic war going on, between the devil and God, but you would think like there's very demoniac forces followed from the progression of Kali Yuga, where the demoniac and the mode of ignorance becomes prominent, and that helps actually usher into Satya Yuga again eventually, but it gets deprived. It's these kind of things are happening. You can see it happening. What's the word? I was trying to think of the word. Happening in live action. Text 31. Yaya dharmam cha kalyam chakrayam eva cha adyatavat prajanati buddhi sarparta rajashi Yaya, by which dharman, principles of religion, adharman cha, and irreligion, karyam, work, cha, also, akaryam, what ought not to be done, eva, certainly, cha, also, ayatavat, not perfectly, prajanati, knows, buddhi, intelligence, sa, that, partha, o sanaprita, rajashi, in the mode of passion. Excuse me. Text 31, in that understanding which cannot distinguish between the religious way of life and the irreligious, between action that should be done and action that should not be done, that imperfect understanding, Osanaprita, is in the mode of passion. So there is a bit of mode of passion going on here where people can't differentiate what is to be done and what is not to be done. Purport, intelligence in the mode of passion is always working perversely. It accepts religions which are not actually religions and rejects actual religion. Yeah, so there, this is actually a very interesting thing because there are a lot of the idea of religion. Well, this is a religion. This is my church, and this is my so and so. I created this church in 1942, and this is the religious path that's based loosely on this and this and this, and it becomes this new religion. And what is being told is about dharma, which is the action, the activities that should be done in life. So there's a difference between a religious organization or religion as we know it, like Hinduism, Judaism, Christianity, and that which should be done, like for example, Sanatan Dharma, the eternal function, is not a religion. It is our actual essence, like wetness is in water. It's not something you can change or alter, whether you become a Christian or Hindu or an atheist. You still have Sanatan Dharma. You have an eternal function. So that's different, if you were like, oh, I was a Christian for a while and then I became a Buddhist, for me, I was raised a Catholic, then I was kind of an agnostic for a while, then I, read a lot of different things. I joined Islam for about 3 years and did all the, whatever religion, Islamic things, and then I, was like, oh, this is not where it's at, and but then I met my spiritual master, and he taught me about Sanatan Dharma, which is, you can be a Muslim, a Christian, a Jew, or an atheist, and you still have Sanatan Dharma. Intelligence in the mode of passion is always working perversely. It accepts religions which are not actually religions and rejects actual religion. All views and activities are misguided. Men of passionate intelligence understand a great soul to be a common man and accept a common man as a great soul. So they do this all the time, You got rock stars and whatnot, and then you have these pure devotee saints like the spiritual master. Oh, he's just some dude. Why do you follow him? Meanwhile, they're following all these people and TikTok, and they're following the political leaders, and they're following they're giving their adoration and worship to them as if they're not really a common man. They're almost like a demigod or something in their minds. They think truth to be untruth and accept untruth as truth. Yeah, that's what I was explaining about what's happening with religion. In all activities, they simply take the wrong path, therefore their intelligence is in the mode of passion. Text 32. Adharmam dharmam iti ya manyate tamash varitya. Sarvatan viparlitamscha. Buddhi saparta tamasi. Adharmam, irreligion, dharmam, religion. Iti, thus. Ya, which manyate thinks. Tamasha, by illusion. Avrita, covered. Sarvatan, all things. Viparlitan, the wrong direction. Cha, also. Buddhi, intelligence. Sa, that. Partha, osanaprita, tamashi, the mode of ignorance. Text 32, translation. That understanding which considers irreligion to be religion and religion to be irreligion under the spell of illusion and darkness, and strive always in the wrong direction, O Partha, is in the mode of ignorance. So society in general, I think, is under the mode of passion and ignorance. I mean, there might be a little bit of some goodness, but there's a different gradation of passion to ignorance, especially with people who are flipping things around and trying to make religion irreligion and irreligion religion. Let's see. Okay, well, let's read a few more verses here. Text 33. Drita yaya darayate manaha pranendriya kriyaha yogan naviya bicharinya dritihi sapartha satviki. Drita, determination, yaya, by which, darayate, is sustained, manaha, mind, prana, life, indriya, senses, kriya, activities, yogena, by yoga practice, avyabhicharinya, without any break, dirti, such determination, sa, that, partha, osanaprita, satviki, in the mode of goodness. Translation, text 33, O son of Prita, that determination which is unbreakable. I love that. Unbreakable determination, which is sustained with steadfastness by yoga practice and thus controls the mind, life, and the acts of the senses is in the mode of goodness. So the activities we do in our life, the yogic practices, makes our determination steadfast by our yogic practice and determination that is unbreakable. We are determined to serve our spiritual master. Our mind is controlled by this practice, and our senses are controlled by this practice. And we act in this world, be of the world but not in the world. Be in the world but not of the world, I should say, is the other way around, as Jesus Christ would so famously coined. Yoga is a means to understand the Supreme Soul, one who is steadily fixed in the Supersoul with determination, concentrating one's mind, life, and sensual activities on the Supreme, engages in Krishna consciousness. So our activities is not scattered. We're not like, oh, where is our enjoyment going to be? We're all over the place, and we're just thrown around by the hurricane of life, because we're just caught up and beaten up by the modes of ignorance and passion. But in the mode of goodness, it's very clear, it's very focused, it's one-pointed, it's Krishna, We can be in the eye of the storm, the eye of the hurricane, and find peace, and that is Krishna. So everything that we do is controlled because of the activities. And this activity is not just a material activity, it's a spiritual activity, non-different than Krishna. It is Krishna. Yoga is Krishna. It's Krishna practice. Yoga practice is Krishna consciousness. Therefore, if we're conscious of Krishna, we are anchored, we are determined, unbreakable, and we have steadfastness. That sort of determination is in the mode of goodness. The word avyabhicharinya is very significant, for it refers to persons who are engaged in Krishna consciousness and are never deviated by any other activity. We're not deviated. We're not deterred. It's like focused on, like, what was it? The captain of the ship that sees the light of the lighthouse and is focused on that. They just think, if we stay on that, we'll avoid all the rocks that we're, instead of like trying to, which way do we go, right? Okay. Text 34. Yaya tu dharma karmatan dirta darayate juna prashagyana falakankshi dirti shapartha rajasi. Yaya, by which to, but dharma and kama artan, for religiosity and economic development. Drita, by determination, darayate, in such terms, Arjuna, O Arjuna, prashagena, for that. Phala Kankshi, desiring fruit of results. Driti, determination. Sa, that. Partha, Osanaprita, Rajashi, in the mode of passion. Text 34, and that determination by which holds fast to fruit of result in religion, economic development, and sense gratification is of the nature of passion, O Arjuna. So there are different means in the material world by developing religion, religious activity, economic development, sense gratification, and ultimately liberation, which is moksha, which is actually in the mode of goodness. So these other things are in the mode of passion, because a man, of course, sense gratification is, done in the mode of passion and procreation. Economic development, you have to make money, so you have to be in the mode of passion. And even religiosity, to follow a system, is you have to actively do those kind of things, just as a matter of, society duty, that is. We're not talking about the results or the actual understanding. That's in the mode of goodness. Any person who is always desirous of fruit of result in religious or economic activities, whose only desire is sense gratification. So those people that are actually even following in religious activities are doing so with the idea that they're going to get something out of it, either in this life or in heaven, a heavenly life. So this is the mode of passion. Whose mind, life, and senses are thus engaged is in the mode of passion. And text 35. Yaya svapanyam bayam shokyam vishadam madam evacha na vivun chati dormedya dyuti saparta tamasi. Yaya, by which, svapanyam, dream, bayam, fearfulness, sokam, lamentation, vishadam, moroseness, madam, illusion, eva, certainly, cha, also, na, never, vimunchati, is liberated, durmedya, unintelligent, duti, determination, sa, that, partha, osanaprita, tamashi, in the mode of ignorance. Text 35, in that determination which cannot go beyond dreaming, fearfulness, lamentation, moroseness, and illusion, such unintelligent determination is in the mode of darkness. So actually, I think he was telling Arjuna that he was in, because he was lamenting over the death of his, that was actually the mode of ignorance. And I've heard my spiritual master tell people that one should not lament for the death of people that they love in their life. They can feel sadness. You can miss that person, but you shouldn't lament, because they're not gone. They're not. It was what I was trying to tell my older brother, that my father, the body of my father had died, but that the father, he wasn't gone. He was moved on. He went on to his next life, or wherever Krishna needed to put him. That's where he's at. And so to lament, to actually be like, oh, my son is gone. Like, my son is gone. He's just disappeared now. He's just dead. Mode of ignorance, right? So Krishna wanted to pull him up, be in the mode of goodness, do those activities, those actions, fight with the understanding that the true weapon of knowledge, understanding who you are, who the people on the battlefield are, what your relationship, what your position is, and what your relationship is to Krishna. What your duty is, without the attachments of the result. That's in the mode of goodness and transcendental goodness, Krishna consciousness. Purport, it should not be concluded that a person in the mode of goodness does not dream. Okay. Here, dream means too much sleep. Dream is always present, either in the mode of goodness, passion, or ignorance. Dream is a natural occurrence. But those who cannot avoid oversleeping, who cannot avoid the pride of enjoying material objects, and who are always dreaming of lording it over the material world, whose life, mind, and senses are thus engaged, are considered to be in the mode of ignorance. So we're going to go on next time with text 36. Some really wonderful purports there. Thank you very much. We'll see you next time. Namaste.